Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review F9, the Fast Saga. And Justin Lin is back directing this ridiculous franchise, and here's my backstory, and I know I probably said this in my Fate of the Furious review and my Hobbs and Shaw review, but I've seen the first three films. Up until the past couple years, I had only seen Too Fast, Too Furious and Tokyo Drift. So I didn't even see the original one. I hadn't seen 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I dropped into the theaters to go see Fate of the Furious. And here's the thing, there's a lot of world building and characters in this franchise, which is shocking to me how intricate these things are, because it's so confusing trying to keep track of all these characters. And like, this is like the Marvel Cinematic Universe with all these random things, and you have like in WandaVision having Darcy popping back up again after however the hell long, and you have like, of course they gave us away Han's back in this one. I watched him die in Tokyo Drift. I saw that one. They even have the young southern kid from Tokyo Drift back in this one making rocket cars, because they go to space. But here's the thing, for me, my favorite parts of Fate of the Furious were The Rock and Jason Statham. I loved watching Hobbs and Shaw. I've never felt really connected to like this family. I shudder at saying that word because they say that word like 100 times in every single movie because it's all about family. And I never really felt connected to these characters, so like, this is somebody who doesn't have a strong connection to this franchise watching F9, which there's so many characters in this movie. Like, Cardi B's in it. Why? Kurt Russell pops up periodically throughout. Han's back. He has a new character attached to him, like I mentioned before. Like, Bow Wow's back in this one, along with the southern kid from Tokyo Drift. And then, why is Cypher back? Why is Charlize Theron even in this movie? She mugs at the camera a couple of scenes and that's about it. She probably shot her role in like 2 days. There's some random guy who's John Cena's partner that is annoying and doesn't really have anything interesting about him. And then of course there's John Cena. Because how did we get 8 movies into this franchise without knowing that Dom has a brother? Like, I know they don't talk, but like, just out of nowhere, that's one of my biggest issues with these movies. Like, they just keep trying to find ways to make more and more connections. Is this Star Wars? Like, the whole entire world's wrapped around the Toretto family. Like, and when did Dom become superhuman, ripping giant stone ceilings down with his bare hands wrapped in chains? Like, I could see John Cena and The Rock looking like superhumans, but Vin Diesel? So, my overall impression of this movie is it is really dumb. Like, really dumb. And physics, forget them. Magnets, how do they work? Insane Clown Posse, if you watch this movie, you wouldn't know how magnets work, because I don't think this movie knows how magnets work. They go to space in a Pontiac attached to a rocket. And like, at least Tyrese Gibson and Ludacris are funny in this movie. I enjoyed their banter. And you have Emmanuel and Natalie Emanuel from Game of Thrones as Ramsay. They're fun together. So, before I just completely badmouth this movie, I had fun. It's a big, dumb movie. So, like, it's not a horrible movie, it's just a big, dumb movie. But the more I'm going to think about this movie, I'm going to think, what the hell was that? How did that happen? How did they explain Han came back? Half-ass. Why is Helen Mirren in this movie? Because she's famous and got a quick paycheck. Why is Cardi B in this? Why are you even set up in this movie, Cardi B? I don't know. She'll probably come back in another one. Why weren't The Rock and Jason Statham in this? This franchise has a big issue with, like, and honestly you could argue that Marvel does too. It's like, why didn't they help? I don't know. Why didn't anybody help? It's because The Rock and Vin Diesel don't get along? Okay. And for me, and I don't have the emotional connection to this franchise, but them having Brian alive and keep referencing him, but like he'll never show up on screen and they just do obnoxious filmmaking to cut around that. it didn't work for me. And I feel like it's pandering at this point. And the cast is fun, except for Vin Diesel. Like, Vin Diesel just feels like a charisma vacuum. And, like, everybody else is so much more interesting than him. Jordana Brewster's fine. John Cena just kind of, like, sad mugs at the camera all the time. And, it's just, like, the dialogue in this is horrendous. Like, especially, basically anything Charlize Theron has to say felt so forced. And, like, kudos to her and her talent to even say those words without, like, you know, just losing it and cracking up. The only ones that feel like they're having a ton of fun here are Tyrese Gibson and Ludacris and Natalie Emmanuel, because they're the comic relief. But then the rest of this movie feels so overly serious. And it's just like, the tonal issues don't work well together. And they have all these flashbacks to Dom's backstory and him and his brother and his dad. And honestly, that streamlined, stripped down story works so much better for me than this ridiculous MacGuffin chasing, obnoxious, over-the-top, overstuffed, overpopulated main story of this film. And I'm like, I would kind of watch a full movie about his backstory. And it does harken back to the original film and what this really was meant to be. But now, you know, it's so ridiculous. Physics don't matter. They went to space. And where do you go from here? I don't know. But the action's big, dumb, and crazy. Except I almost laughed at the movie because I couldn't believe how far they went with, like, completely disregarding physics or logic or story continuity or reason. It's just like, this person's here because we wanted to bring them back. In the end, as somebody from the outside looking in who doesn't have a strong connection to this franchise, F9 was a hot mess. But it was big, dumb, and fun. So, you know, for 2 hours and 25 minutes, I had some fun. So, if you really love the franchise, you're going to love this because it's really pandering to you. If you're not a huge fan of the franchise, but you love a big, dumb action movie, here's a big, dumb action movie. If you can't get past that, do not watch this movie, because you'll be really angry for 2 hours and 25 minutes. I'll be interested to see where it goes. Not excited about it, but I'll watch it. But in summation, those are my thoughts on F9. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.